Yeah, oh man, that's...
I belong to you.
I belong to
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
Puts it into an area. Keo, Samora!
And I always be wrong when you need some loving, baby. No one else.
Put you down. Sing all my melodies.
Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 123, and we're going to be talking Championship football tonight. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, you're home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications so you get a little text every time we upload a new show, we go live or upload some new content. And of course, excuse me, you can also follow us on social media. If you want to keep it purely football, you can follow at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms. And if you prefer your podcasts in audio versions, you can get them all the series, whichever ones, at your favourite radio or podcast platform, including Amazon, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and many others. Just search Ace Podcast Nation, and there is nearly 400 shows on there. I think this is episode number 398, I think, off the top of my head. But just as we wait for the various platforms to fill up, the latecomers to join, a big thank you as ever to Black Diamond Sports for all their support around the show and the channel. Appreciated massively. Black Diamond Sports, as you know, is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages and, of course, their website, the links to which are in the description below and in the closing credits at the end of the show. Today's sponsor, as usual, the sponsor of the Andy Campbell shows, is Bespoke Financial, and Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial is giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So please check him out, give him a call, and don't miss out on what is an incredible offer. He's looked after Mr. Campbell for years, including with critical illness injury cover. They are truly top of their field. They provide award-winning service. We are proud to partner with such a brand, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. And with no further delay, I introduce the co-host with the most, the goal collector, the fox in the box, still the QPR dream killer, Davy Jones' favourite son, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, evening everybody. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm glad it's Friday. I'll be honest. Probably the best day of the week. I'm looking forward to the weekend of football. Listen, it doesn't get much bigger than tomorrow. The way that the league's panning out, the way that the games are coming thick and fast. Not many games left as well, and obviously the little game tomorrow at 5:30 between.
Is there a game tomorrow? I didn't know.
Oh, right, okay. So listen, you know what I mean. It's must win for everybody now. There's no hares or graces. There's no point talking about performances. It's a results business now, and that's what we need to start doing. Everybody, you know what I mean. And I'd probably put everybody in the top 12. Has still got an opportunity to get promoted still. So it's an exciting league.
Yes, indeed. I got a couple of questions about that a bit later on. But what it comes down to, as you rightly say, mate, is points on the board now. Doesn't matter how you play, just that you get those points. A few teams having a stutter, a few teams on fire. It's going to be an interesting day. It's going to be an interesting weekend, and it's also going to be an interesting run-in to that final watch-along show that we do on the last day of the season. It's going to be a cracker, mate. I'm really looking forward to getting into it, having a little chat as we do on this Friday night. You know it's Friday when that intro music plays, my friend, and
gets me excited. It's like the Champions League music. It's gets you going. It puts your hairs on your neck, and it's it's a weekend. It's a weekend tune.
Yes, indeedy, mate. So to start us off, just before we go into the championship, what we're going to do is we're going to do Tell Me Why. 2 little subject/stroke questions for you to get 60 seconds to have a little talk about. But an interesting one. Rob Boyle straight away there says Cardiff to win, Wales Grand Slam, happy days. But there'll be no celebrations in the pubs because the pubs are still closed. But yeah, it is what it is. Maybe there's. I know we're going to talk
about. I know we're going to talk about the game later on, but it's you know what I mean. The bigger picture is that 46 league game season. And, you know what I mean? Where would Cardiff be now if they hadn't changed the manager? You know, there's variations of things. Where would they be if they changed the manager earlier? You know, these kind of conversations and statements. It's been a funny all season for many reasons for many teams. So Cardiff's no different.
Yeah, I said at the time after the Wickham game, I felt that was when Harris should have gone, which was I think 3 games earlier. Is what it is. Mick McCarthy has saved the season from a Cardiff point of view, just in terms of being able to watch it without either being worried about relegation, and even if Cardiff don't make the playoffs, at least the second half of the season has been fairly enjoyable, which it wasn't up until then. And of course, we'll be previewing the Cardiff-Swansea game at the end of the show. Once we go through all the different the championship games and stuff, we'll have a proper preview of the Cardiff and Swansea game to finish us off. But the first, let's get to Tell Me Why, my friend. Okay, mate, so I got 2 subjects to ask about. I'm going to give you a choice of, you can have the broad one first, or you can have the more specific one first.
Let's have the specific one first.
Okay. Okay.
Listen, just so the viewers are 100% sure, I've not got a clue what's coming.
Oh no, you do not. Okay, so Celtic have announced that they will not give Rangers a guard of honour in Sunday's Old Firm match. What do you think of this? And your time starts now.
I can see from both sides, but I do think it's bang out of order. I think Rangers have won the league, deservedly so. Beat the teams in front of them, won the league, obviously, at a canter by a number of points already. You know, Celtic have had a bit of a disastrous season, and I think out of respect from the players, because for me, it's about players. And if the players wanted to do it, the players would do it, you know what I mean? Because there's no fans there, and I can fully understand it if they didn't want to do it when fans were there, because it could get them irate and things. But with no fans being there, I think it would be a perfect opportunity to bring football together a little bit, because I think the distance between fans, players, clubs, religions, because that's where a lot of Celtic and Rangers fans are religiously, that they're miles away, miles apart, and I think this would potentially bring them a little bit closer, and the hatred not be able to carry on. I do think it should happen. It would happen for Man United, Liverpool, for example. You know what I mean? People give Liverpool it last year, so for me, I think it should happen for Rangers.
So, I got a couple of things. The year United and Arsenal had that massive falling out with Van Nistelrooy and Keown and etc. They gave, I think it was Arsenal gave United the Guard of Honour, and vice versa over the years when they were in the peak of their hatred of each other. I know you haven't got the religious side of it, but Man United have given it to Liverpool before. Liverpool have given it to Man United before. Chelsea have given it. Arsenal have given it. I don't know. Spurs have given it to Arsenal, I think. And there's been numerous examples over the years of people falling out, but because it's the right thing to do, they do it. To me, it does feel like sour grapes. Like Rangers haven't won the league for so long. Like Gerrard deserves that as his first trophy to lead his team out and to have a guard of honour. I think it's poor. I got to be honest. I think it's really poor.
It's just out of respect sign for me. It's a respect issue. You know what I mean? If Neil Lennon was there, I think Neil Lennon would demand it off his players, because I think Neil Lennon does things the right way. You know what I mean? He's been a winner. He understands what it is to win a league. He understands what it is to not win leagues as players. You know what I mean? As well as a manager. And I just think it just, like you said there, the word sour grapes, it just comes to mind straight away. And I don't think we can be like that. You know what I mean? You've got to celebrate success, and because if Celtic win the league back next year, then they can't expect it back. You know what I mean? But people are bigger than that.
So John Kennedy said, it's not about lacking class, it's nothing like that. It's because we're a club who will show class and dignity and do what's right. He cited Rangers' refusal to give Celtic a guard of honour in 2019. Look,
so tit for tat now. Is that what we're going?
Yeah, it's kind of childish, isn't it?
That's the route we're going down. But
and Celtic have won the league, made it every year for forever. Do you know what I mean? It does feel like throwing your toys out the pram a little bit because you haven't won the league for the first time in 10 years.
But we're talking about two huge football clubs who, you know what I mean, respect each other. They have battles on the pitch, off the pitch, and you know what I mean. For me, it's a little give back to the other team and say, do you know what? You beat it this time. We'll be back next year, and you know what I mean. As a player, I'd be stood in that guard of honour thinking, I'm going to win this game because I'm not letting this happen. Whereas now, it doesn't matter if you don't win the game because you're not doing the guard of honour. In a way, I think the guard of honour is an important start of a game for me.
Yeah, Stevie Dollar deserves it. It's his first trophy. Not many people thought that he was gonna take Rangers to the league title so quickly. I think they thought it would probably take a couple more years before Rangers were back at the top. It's just coincided that Celtic have not been very good this year as well as Rangers have been. Rangers have been very good. I find it in bad taste. I would be disappointed. As much as I don't want to give Swansea a guard of honour, if Swansea won the league and we were playing them the next game, I would expect those players to suck it up. And famously, Fergie told those young, if you remember, there were some young players who were a bit, didn't want to give Man City a guard of honour. It's just come to my mind now. And he told them that you go out there, you give them the guard of honour, and you remember how bad it feels to give those players that guard of honour, and you make sure it doesn't happen next season. That's why you do it.
There's no worse feeling than standing on the pitch and seeing other team get rewarded for something, if that's a playoff final, playoff semi-final as a loser, and seeing other teams celebrate. But you remember it and use it as a positive to turn things around for next season, and you use it as motivation. And you know what I mean? For me, it's giving Celtic an excuse next season to do badly or to not win the league again, because I don't like Kennedy's comments. I think it's poor. I think it reflects badly on him, because if he wanted to do it, he would demand his players to do it, or say on an interview, I think we should do it, even if the club says no.
Yeah, like, to me, if it's good enough for Fergie against Man City of all people, then it's good enough for everyone else, as far as I'm concerned.
It should happen.
Gaz just asked a question, which I want to just quickly address.
Yeah, he did.
He said, did Si just call Gerrard Stevie Dollar? Yes, I did. Would you like me to explain why or not? Should we just leave it to the imagination? I can explain why very quickly. Steven Gerrard would be a Chelsea legend. He wanted to leave Liverpool, and it does rub me up the wrong way a little bit that people worship him. Don't get me wrong, legend of the game, but the fact is he'd be a Chelsea player. He would have been a Chelsea player for the last 10 years of his career if Liverpool hadn't broke the bank and offered double whatever. It is what it is, the way football is, but does rub me up the wrong way a little bit, so I do refer to him as Stevie Dollar sometimes. But there we go. It is what it is. Great player. Now looks like he's going to go on to be a good manager as well. Can't fault him.
Yeah.
But Chelsea legend. Right, next one, mate. Nice and broad. 60 seconds will start in just a second. Let's restart the timer. European football this week, mate. Tell us about the home nations clubs and how they did. Who is in, who is out, who was good, who was bad. In 60 seconds. Should be nice and easy for you. Off the top of your head. Time starts now.
Man United, excellent. Watched it yesterday against Milan. I thought the professional performance, I thought the substitution, Paul Pogba's goal was absolutely fantastic. While Henderson was in goal, was amazing. I caught the end of the Spurs game. I don't think they were bad. I just think they were beaten by a very good side with 3 excellent goals by the same player. Arsenal got very lucky, I believe, losing at home to a poor Greece side, in my opinion. Champions League, Man City, awesome. Thought they were absolutely excellent. De Bruyne's goal was absolutely out of this world. To get them on the road to start off with. Chelsea, I thought they were brilliant defensively, and some of the goals they scored were fantastic as well. I'm not sure I'm missing anyone else. Have I missed another team? I don't think I have. One thing I will want to say is I had it on the tip of my tongue then as well.
Did you mention Rangers?
Oh, Rangers, yeah. 2 men sent off yesterday. Awful. The second one with the studs on his face was brutal. One thing I did want to mention was Man City game. I didn't understand why they played in Hungary for both the home game and the away game. Does anybody know the answer to that? So they played.
I read about this. And I can't remember what it was.
They played in Hungary for the Germany away game, and then they played the home game in the same ground.
Yeah, so there was. I think United played a game in a different place as well.
Yeah, they did when they played the Austrian
in the last
team.
round. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I just didn't get it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Leslie says Steven Gerrard's not a good manager. I could be in charge, as in me, could be in charge of Rangers, and Andy be in charge of Celtic, and one of you guys would win the league. Yeah, but in fairness, like, I'm a very good manager, and Andy's proven as a manager, so you know.
Oh, listen. To address that,
it is a little bit
address
like that,
to address that point though. Yes, Rangers or Celtic would win the league, but only one of us would win it, and that's the point. You know what I mean? So why haven't Celtic won the league this year? Celtic haven't won this year, Les, because Stevie G is a better manager than Neil Lennon. That's the fact.
Also, the other thing is Celtic have got, on paper, should have the better squads because they've had more money, because they've been playing Champions League football every year for the last 10 years, whereas Rangers have had to come up through the lower league. There's a lot of things which are in Celtic's favour, and ultimately Celtic have just not been good enough this year, and you could blame Neil Lennon, you could blame the players, you could blame COVID, whatever you want to do, but the fact is, when it comes to COVID, it's the same for all the teams.
Yeah.
And like, how many times have we talked about Celtic's squad breaking the COVID regulations? So, at least twice. So maybe it's totally lack of discipline. I don't know.
Yeah, totally agree. Riverside says that they weren't allowed to travel to the UK, so that might.
It could be that. Yeah.
That might be a point. Yeah. So, but then, I suppose then they're going to different countries. Liverpool did it as well when they played RB Leipzig, so it might be a German thing. It might be the German teams can't come to the UK. Might be travel restrictions from their government.
Yeah,
maybe,
from their governments, and like a lot of other governments around Europe are a bit more.
Oh, Garant's just confirmed, I think. There we go. So due to travel restrictions between Germany and the UK, there we go. Thank you.
Geraint, he's always full of knowledge.
Knowledgeable. I like that. I like that. Not football, just general knowledge.
So a couple of things from last night's games. Paul Pogba's goal I thought was really underrated. He gets a lot of stick, and I thought he came on and changed the game for him. Not just his goal. I thought he was. So that's going to be a big lift for them as a team. I thought the way he gave the keeper the eyes was beautiful.
I put it on Twitter, and you know what? Like, watching it, I thought he was going to cross the first ball, and then when he didn't, I still thought he was going to cross it or lit inside.
Yeah, or he was going to run out of time and get sort of closed out, and he was impressive, mate. Jose Mourinho still doesn't like losing.
No, I have got I've got to say about Henderson's save though from Ibrahimovic's header. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? Because he hasn't played a lot of football this season. Every time he plays, there's pressure on him because he's got a world-class goalkeeper behind him. But he pulled off an unbelievable point-blank save to basically to put them through, because it would have gone all the way probably to extra time and penalties. But yeah, I agree with you about Spurs and Mourinho.
It's a bad look, mate, the way he blames the players and singles individuals, mate. I hated it when he did it to Luke Shaw. I thought it seemed like really personal, like making comments about his weight, and I don't know, I didn't like it. And he's doing it again now, which normally when he gets to this point, when he's singling out players for losses, 6 months later he's gone. And he's gone early for Spurs, haven't he?
But define.
Oh, by the way, sorry, mate.
No, sorry.
Zlatan, 39 years old, mate, still doing it in Europe.
Back to Spurs, though. Define blaming players, though, because I watched the last 15 minutes of extra time and how Spurs didn't score. You know what I mean? They had open goals, they had the goalkeepers, blocks on the line. So you know what I mean? They couldn't have done any more than win that game. You know what I mean? Some of the goals that lad scored for Zagreb were absolutely phenomenal. The first one when he bent it in the top corner. The second one, yes, you can question defending, but there were three really, really good goals. So you know what I mean? Sometimes you've got to give the opposition credit. You know what I mean? They had nothing to lose. They got the tails up by a world class strike, and then they got level. And sometimes you've got to take stock, but an away goal would have put them through. So sometimes you just got to give credit where credit's due.
Riverside said he thinks Mourinho will be gone after the cup final if they lose to City, which is the way City are playing. There's a good chance of that. But then Mourinho has.
And then you know what Mourinho's like, though. He's got a knack of winning
for cup finals, mate. Yeah. He's got a knack, hasn't he?
It won't be a pretty cup final, I don't believe. I think he'll park the bus, he'll break away, and you know what Jose like. He could win and make us look stupid.
Yeah, phenomenal point by the Fisherman. Welcome back to the Fisherman. But also, he's back again, and he says Ronald Reagan was in the White House the last time anyone apart from Celtic or Rangers won that league. So
who was that? Was that Aberdeen?
That can't be good. I would have thought so. Yeah, I'd have to have a Google. But
it was Aberdeen. Aberdeen won it. Did Aberdeen win it when Fergie was there?
Yes, they did. 81 was the year I was born. I believe they won it. But also, Aberdeen are probably the team which have come closest since as well, I would say. There was 1 year, wasn't there, where Hearts went close, I think. It is what it is. We all know, I feel like we've done that subject to death. Like the Scottish League.
Gav's confirmed my football knowledge is right up there.
Not Celtic or Rangers. Yeah, I would imagine it's Aberdeen. Nah. So yeah, it is what it is, really, mate. Aberdeen, 1985.
85 was it?
Yes.
I was only a baby.
Like you say, was right.
I was only 6.
Who do you think would be a good replacement for Mourinho at Spurs? The German manager, maybe. I'm not a massive fan of him, but he does do. He's done well for Germany, you'd have to say.
Frank Lampard?
Did he impress enough at Spurs that Daniel Levy would pay him the money he wants?
I don't think the fans would like it because he hasn't got a good relationship with the Tottenham fans. But it depends. It depends what kind of route you're going to go down south for me. You know what I mean? Do they want a Stevie G? Does he want to try it in the Premier League? Is he going to wait for the Liverpool job?
He did say, actually, in an interview recently, that he doesn't see himself going to Liverpool after Klopp, because he would like to go to a different Premier League club first. So it'd be fascinating. You've got Eddie Howe, German manager. You've got Rafa Benitez.
It depends what route they want to go down.
Neil Harris is obviously out of a job. John Sheridan.
Listen, John Sheridan, for me, I think he's due a move.
Yeah, he hasn't had one for a couple of months. So.
He hasn't had one for a week. He'll have another one.
I would like to see a young manager get it, as opposed to a Rafa Benitez or a.
Yeah, me. I'm available.
Yeah. Neil Campbell, Andy Campbell duo.
Not on a Monday though.
Yeah, that's when your brother can take over. He can step in. But yeah, I like Allegri. Reece says there. He says he's surprised Allegri hasn't had a job in the UK. He was very close to coming into United when they signed Van Gaal. It was like a straight choice between the two of them, and I think United made the wrong choice. Karanka to Spurs.
Yeah, well, to be honest,
Brendan Rodgers. That could be
on
a shout.
borrowed time.
Although, would you
want to swap no pressure and expansive football at Leicester for high pressure at Spurs? I think that, you know what I mean. For me, the remit is just so different.
He likes playing with young players, though, doesn't he? And when you look at Spurs, the one thing they've got is some really talented young footballers. Although some of them are not so young now, but like like the likes of Dele Alli, do you know what I mean? They're still in the peak of their career. Like you get the right manager in there, Spurs could compete if they had the right manager and a couple of signings.
I don't think he would. I don't think he would leave personally. I don't think he would swap a like for like club at the minute.
No, it'd be interesting though, because I don't see Mourinho staying there too long. Right, let's get bang into the Championship then, mate. What we're going to do, we're going to go through the clubs as normal, but we're also going to talk a little bit of news as we're going along for some of the clubs. Obviously, like Lee Bowyer's coming to Birmingham, which is big, and anything else as well as the games. But let's fly through them and get into it. We got Wycombe Wanderers first and foremost.
Yeah.
How did their week go?
Better than normal. They stopped the rot of 5 league defeats. They beat Preston at the weekend, which is obviously a fantastic result for Gareth and the boys. And you know what I mean. It's nice for them to get some points on the board. You know what I mean, because they've had a bit of a torrid time, and then but the games come thick and fast. You know what I mean. 2 games in a week. They play Barnsley. They're probably the most informed side apart from Norwich City in the Championship, and it was just probably a step too far. Lost 3-1, but dominated. Barnsley even had 10 men for the end of the game, towards the end of the game, and still ended up scoring again. And you know what I mean. So it's difficult side against some sides who attack at you and break at you, especially when you're at home when you're expected to go and try and attack. But listen, Wycombe have got 26 points this season out of 37 games, and for everyone who said that they were going to go down, yes, you're correct. But I think they've done themselves proud, and Gareth won't have the boys giving up. You know what I mean. I don't see it being a foregone conclusion. If they can just pick maybe a couple of wins up this week, you know what I mean, it gives them a little bit of opportunity. But I personally think it's probably too little too late, because the amount of goals they've let in. They've let 61 goals in, which is a hell of a lot.
They'd have to win a lot of games. Draws wouldn't be enough, would they?
Yeah.
I think from happy birthday to Gavin Randall as well, 39
happy birthday,
today,
Gav.
Happy birthday,
39.
Gav.
39. Happy birthday,
lads.
Right. All the very best to you. Craig Harrison. Good evening, my friend. The Welsh League started again, by the way. Connors Key, top of the league. Congratulations, Craig. Well done. Keep going.
Good effort. Next up, Sheffield Wednesday in the bin.
Oh, listen. We every Friday we talk about the same thing. 2 more games gone. 2 more games gone. 2 more games gone. Norwich City was
I'm
always
amazed they're not
game.
bottom, mate. Amazed they're not bottom.
Norwich was always going to be a tough game on Sunday. I watched the game. I thought they were very good in the first half. They went ahead through Jordan Rhodes at half time, and then second half they just I wouldn't say they give up, but they just lack quality, and they try to see the game out. You can't see the game out against a side like Norwich. You've got to go at them and get the second goal, and then Huddersfield Town in midweek, same thing again. You're 1-0 ahead through Josh Windass, and then Callum Patterson scores an own goal, and it just doesn't happen for them. And you've got to beat teams like Huddersfield at home. Huddersfield not really got a lot to play for. They're not really in a position that they're going to go down, and 1 point out of 2 games is just not enough at this time of the season. You know what I mean? I know I harp on about this week in, week out, but they're so lucky that they didn't get those 6 points taken off them, because they would be in dire trouble. They'd be relegated already. But they are 9 points away from safety. Yes, they've got 1 game in hand, but they've got to win that game in hand. I think the appointment of Lee Bowyer at Birmingham City might have put a nail in the coffin for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, they'd be down, mate, if it was not for that 6 points, let's be honest. They'd be dead and buried, because they'd be level on points with... No, they'd be 3 points below.
Yeah, they'd be 3 points behind. Yeah, they'd have 23, and obviously Birmingham on 38. So for me, I think they'd be down, more or less down. They have to win every game.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
I feel sorry for Callum Patterson, mate. Riverside said there'll be some bargains if they do go down, though, and I think I agree there. There's some players there, mate.
Job loss. All the players. None of them will be able to stay financially.
No way they can afford to pay those players the wages they're on. Next up, Rotherham. They only had the one game against Watford. Why was their game against Coventry called off, mate?
COVID again, wasn't it? I mean, so they've got obviously they got beat by Watford comfortably 4-1. They were 3-0 down very early. They've got 4 games in hand. You know what I mean? But it's not a case of having the games in hand. They've got to play them and they've got to fit them in. How they're going to fit them in? How they're going to play them? The league aren't going to feel sorry for them. It's going to be 3 games, 4 games a week. So it's going to be demands on the players is going to be massive, and I think it's going to be a big ask for them to get out of this now with the amount of games that they've got left. I think that points are key at this time of the year.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Although if you'd given them 3rd from bottom, still in touch with the team 4th from bottom with 4 games in hand, if you'd said at this point in the season that's where they'd be, I think they would have taken it.
Yeah, probably. Well. Yeah, possibly. If you put the numbers out there, I think they probably would.
Because they'd have been expecting to be in a battle for relegation. Yeah. So to be how many points is there between them and the team above?
6.
So there's 6. They got 4 games in hand. If they win 2 of those 4. And maybe pinch a draw. Do you know what I mean?
It's the current form, Si. It's the current form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it?
When Cardiff went there and beat them, you know what I mean? They've won 1 out of 7 and they've lost the other 6, which is worrying form.
Yes, indeed. Next up, Birmingham City, new manager, and he had an instant effect.
Yeah, he did. Obviously, Aitor lost his job. It's not nice to see anybody lose a job. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of Aitor. Watched him at Middlesbrough. He had loads of success there, and it just didn't work out for them. He's notoriously a defensive manager who attacks in a certain way but doesn't let goals in. And when you get beat 3-0 at home to Bristol City, you're going to lose your job. I think it was a bit comical how he lost it, I'll be honest. Social media didn't announce it. Social media still didn't put anything on the day after. And then they appoint a manager who resigned the day before, which wasn't a surprise. We obviously spoke about it a little bit with Chris on the show on Monday. But normally managers come in and do an instant success job on the next game, and Lee was no different. You know what I mean? Jukovic scored after 4 minutes, which is a fantastic start against Reading, who've been up there all season. Harley Dean scored the winner, and Birmingham can only do what they can do. They can only beat the teams who they're playing against, and they've got some big games coming up. You know what I mean? Then their next 3 games are Watford, Swansea, Brentford. So how many points are they going to get out of those 3 games? So it was so important that they got the win against Reading, because the next 3 are awful.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be difficult for them, but they will have a boost from that victory. They will have a boost from the new manager, and also, you know, Lee Bowyer cares about Birmingham. He's got a genuine affinity with the football club.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
And he did. Look, I know Charlton went down last year, but he did very, very well for Charlton as manager on a shoestring budget. Look, I wanted him to be. It's no secret. When they brought in Harris, and we got told what we were told, I was very happy. I wanted Lee Bowyer to be the Cardiff manager at the time because I felt he was a much better choice than
I agree.
Neil Harris.
The thing is, also with the appointment and people say that he got relegated last year. I don't think you can judge Lee Bowyer on last year about what happened. You know what I mean? We're talking about COVID circumstances. He had 2 players who refused to play. One of his no secrets. His best player refused to finish the season, the last 8 games. So he scored all their goals last season. Would he have kept them up? I believe he would have done. You know what I mean? And we had this argument on the show, not an argument, but we had the discussion on the show that we both believed he should see the season out. He was paid to play. He made a sideward step. There we go.
And we said that, didn't we? The points should. We said at the time the points should be right. So basically, for the audio listeners, Riverside has put in the chat: if Sheffield Wednesday had had their point deduction taken off from last season, Charlton would have stayed up. Now they should have had them taken off from last season because that's the season where
they brought the rules.
Yeah. And that's why it makes no sense to me whatsoever.
But then the whole thing doesn't make sense, does it? Because last season they're on about losing 15 points, which would have relegated them. Charlton would have stayed up. This season they got done 12 points, so less, and then they got 6 back. So the whole thing's a mockery. The whole thing that
Yeah.
the EFL's made a mockery of the whole system, and it's other teams, Charlton, other teams now, Wickham, Rotherham, they're getting punished still for someone else's downfall. It's not fair.
Yeah, and also what you've got to think, mate, is what would have actually been a punishment for him, because being relegated because of the point deduction would have been a big punishment. Having it at the start of the season, even if they'd kept the deduction, there was a good chance they'd be able to make up the points over 42 games or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think the rule needs looking at. I'll be honest, because if you break a rule in a season, surely it's got to be taken off that season. You can't be put onto next season.
It's ridiculous. Next up, Coventry, mate. Just the one game.
Listen,
a good one.
I fully expected them to go to Luton and get a result the way they've been playing. I watched them against Middlesbrough. Obviously, Middlesbrough did win, but I thought they were the better side. They beat Derby, obviously, last week. And then, Luton were the better side. They bullied them a little bit. A few of the big players came to the table. Luton haven't been playing that well, but obviously when Calum Fadzen got sent off for the penalty, it was an uphill climb for the second half. They were never really getting back into it.
What did you think of that sending off, mate?
Letter of the law, it's a red card, but I just think they're getting quite soft and softer each week now. So it's you know what I mean. I'd be disappointed if I was a player. Yeah, straight red.
Straight red, and the handling on the line is.
But letter of the law, it's if it's handball and it's stopping a goal, then he's got to give it. He's got to send him. If he's given a penalty, he's got to send him off. I don't like it, but
yeah.
If that happens on Saturday nights, you're screaming for it.
Yeah, of course.
So.
Reece makes a good point. He said, look at Wigan. If they went down, they said the points would be taken off them the following season. If they stayed up, then the point deduction would come into effect. It just makes no sense. It's I don't like it at all. So next up, we got Derby County and a certain Mr. Rooney.
Yeah. He's struggling. He's struggling. No, he's struggling. I said after they beat Huddersfield, in February, that they'd be safe, and I'm starting to query what I'm talking about, because obviously I watched them against Cardiff City. They were dire, and they haven't scored many goals since. They lost against Millwall at the weekend at home, which I fully expect them to get something from, even if it was a draw. But then when they're playing Brentford and they're getting beat 2-0, I fully expect them to get nothing. So then when they come back and salvage a draw, that's a fantastic point. So that point, come the end of the season, might be absolutely valuable. But they need to pick a win up, and they need to pick a win up very quickly, because they need to turn it around. They play Stoke tomorrow, then they play Luton, and then there's a couple of tough ones with Reading and Norwich. So Wayne will know that he needs to get safe sooner rather than later, so he can then plan for next season. Because the longer you leave it, then the worry and the concern comes in, and then you become under pressure. They need to plan for next season, and the earlier they stay up, the better for the football club.
Yeah, 100%, mate. He needs to get hold of it, and what he needs to realise quickly, if he hasn't already, and I would have thought he has, is no club is too big to go down.
No.
And Derby are by no means safe.
No,
so
totally agree.
They need to be very careful.
Totally agree.
Next up is Forest. Not the best week for them either, although they did have 2 tough games.
Yeah, not the best week, but 2 monster games. Reading at home, drew 1-1. And then Norwich blew them away midweek, but that's no disgrace, because Norwich have blown most teams away all season. So I think that they probably would have taken 2 points, stayed unbeaten, but the run they were on, it was important to break that duck against Reading and get a point on the board. And they're just not scoring enough goals, side for me. You know what I mean? With the players that they've got to score goals, you know what I mean? You've got the Murrays now. You know what I mean? You've still got the Lewis Grabbans. You've got your Lyle Taylor. You know what I mean? So it's you. Potentially, you've got 3 of the best centre forwards in the division, and they're not scoring enough goals. So that tells you the story that they're at the minute. They're not scoring enough goals, so they're getting punished.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Huddersfield Town.
Decent week, to be honest. Obviously, a draw midweek against Sheffield Wednesday, which we spoke about, the 1-0 down through Jordan Rose, but they went to QPR and won 1-0, which I fully didn't expect at the weekend. And probably Huddersfield would have probably taken a draw, but got Bakuna, I think, he's had a really good season this season. I've been really impressed with him. You know what I mean? I think he's very inconsistent, but I think this season he's been very good and very strong.
Yes. Next up is Preston North End. They had a bloody nightmare this week, and they are struggling.
Yeah, they had a shocking week. Obviously, losing to Wickham, which I fully expected them to win. Then they went to
1 point from
Middlesbrough.
4.
Yeah, then they went to Middlesbrough. The own goal was a calamity goal. It was awful from defender and goalkeeper, in my opinion. I think it was poor. Brown got a red card. Not a red card for me. I did really feel for him. I thought the Middlesbrough player could have done a little bit better, and did get him sent off a little bit, but played the system, played the game. And second goal, they were all over the place. The shot by Akpom should have scored, and Tavernier headed it in, but. Yeah, they're not scoring enough goals. Si, I mean, we talk about how they're attacking players. You know, what I mean, I watched the return fixture earlier on in the season. Sinclair ripped Middlesbrough up. Barkhausen, excellent. They've now got Ched Evans leading the line, and you know, what I mean, they're just not getting what they need. You know, what I mean, Paul Gallagher, set pieces. You know, what I mean, last season they relied on these kind of players, and these kind of players brought them through and give them points and performances. This season they've been so inconsistent. It's scary.
Well, talking of lack of goals, and talking of, we were talking about Forest just now having the players to score goals, but they're not, just it's not quite happening for them. Next up is Blackburn, and on paper they should be way up the league. They should be scoring and creating much more chances than what they are. Yes. They just failed to score again in these 2 games. Yeah,
listen, it's a difficult one because obviously Armstrong was missing. So when you rely so much on one player, and he's not playing, then it causes a major problem. You know what I mean? For me, they've relied too much on him all season, and when he's not playing, where your goals come from? If he is playing, you still need goals from other players. You can't rely on it all the time. You know, and that was obviously Brentford. They got beat 1-0 at home at the weekend. Ivan Toney scored a penalty, and then a 0-0 draw against Bristol City. They need to do better. They've got to make sure that they do better. Obviously, Bradley Dack got injured at the weekend, and by social media and by what I'm reading, I think it's supposed to be a serious one as well. So I'm hoping it's not, because someone who's missed so much football this year and last year, to have if he's got the same injury again, which is a cruciate injury, if he's going to be out for another year, I'll be heartbroken for him, because I seen the relief when he scored that goal against Birmingham City. I seen all the love what players, teammates, football world give him, and then now again I'm seeing some stories and some comments about an injury again, which will be gutting for him.
It's common though, isn't it, for the other cruciate ligament to go, like after when recovered from one?
It seems to be common, Si, for the same leg to go or the other leg, because there's a weakness in the same knee, obviously, but the other one sometimes can take a weakness if the other one comes back stronger. So it's such a shame, because touch wood, I've never done it, I've never had it, but I've seen lads have it again, and it mentally finishes them. You know what I mean? So hopefully Bradley's mentally strong. He seems like he is. He's got a good club around him. He's obviously got a lot of friends and a lot of love around him. So hopefully he can come back stronger and get back on that football pitch next season, and push Blackburn to the level which they should be at, in my opinion. I think they're underachieving. You know what I mean? Tony, I think that the win against Millwall last weekend kept him his job. Yeah,
spot on, mate. Next up, Luton Town. A mixed week, but 3 points from the 2 I think they would have taken. When you're playing Coventry and Swansea, I think they probably would have taken those 3 points beforehand.
Yeah, I watched the Swansea game because it was early on Saturday. Conor Houlihan scored after very early. It knocked Luton a little bit. They had a goal disallowed. I thought they did okay, and then obviously they beat Coventry at home, which is a good result. It keeps them above that safety line for me. You know what I mean? I think the 50-point mark will keep them well safe. But they've had a fabulous season, so I can't fault them enough. You know what I mean? They haven't scored enough goals, in my opinion. You know what I mean? They've scored 30 goals, which is probably a poor turnaround. You know what I mean? Look at Wickham, have scored 25. So for them to score 30 goals and be in the position they are is absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean? Which shows that defensively they've picked up as well. So, which is great.
If they could sign a goal scorer and play the same, have the same form they've had this year, they could be.
I think if they had someone to play with Collins up front, I think they do really well. I think that they need someone to take the pressure off him. He scored most of their goals. He's been excellent. Leads the line really well, but someone to maybe run in behind and help him out, support him.
So next up was Bristol City. Is their new manager now making headway?
Well, listen, he's had a great week. 2 away games, 2 games which I didn't think he was going to get much from, but he's got 4 points from. Blackburn 0-0, Birmingham 3-0, Blue Birmingham away. Casey Palmer scored the first one. Semedo and then a young player scored the third one. I thought they were excellent, but Birmingham were all over the shop. But 2 clean sheets as well. You know, with Nigel being a defender, he'll take pride in that. And yeah, I think it. I know Bristol City fans will want to look up the table, but sometimes it's important just to solidify and make sure that you stay in the Championship.
Yeah, it's interesting, mate. Still think they're underachieving, but they had
massively.
to get this manager had to get him to pick up quickly. Comment from Donna there. She says, "I can't believe the season's nearly over and we haven't got to go and watch." And
I know
it's unbelievable. It's my son's birthday tomorrow, and it's his 2nd birthday in lockdown, which is
worrying, isn't
it? Yeah, it's quite upsetting for him. You know, he doesn't feel like it's his birthday and stuff, but it's what it is. Number 2 tomorrow. Right. Next up is QPR.
They've been on a crest of a wave side for me, which was surprising. I didn't think they'd do as well.
Breath of fresh air, mate.
Yeah, and then they played Huddersfield and lose, which is just QPR all over. And then they're going to play a better side, in my opinion. Millwall, who've picked up, done really well, and they beat them 3-2. It was a bit of a mixed bag game. They were 2-0 down at half time, and no substitutions, and they turned it around. Charlie Austin got a goal, and got them back into it, and it's really. It must be really interesting being a QPR fan, because you just don't know what you're going to get week in, week out, and game in game. They score goals, they let goals in, they win games, they lose games. It's a pure mixed bag, but I think they prefer that than the season they had a couple of years ago, because I remember I told you the story that it was probably one of the last games I'd been to at the Riverside, that they were the worst team I've ever seen live for probably 20 years. They were terrible. They were all over the place there. Steve McLaren was the manager at the time, and they didn't deserve to be on the same pitch as the Championship side, and luckily for them they stayed in the league. And yeah, hopefully next season they can carry that on or push on. But the players who are doing well, will they be able to keep the hold of them, because they're notoriously now a selling club rather than a progressive club.
Yeah, and the big boys will be looking, won't they? The big boys of the Championship.
Well, you look at Eze left last year, so you know what I mean. I can see maybe his chair leaving as well and pushing on to the Premier League potentially.
Yeah, or even the teams at the top of the Championship, you know.
Yeah, teams coming down.
Teams who don't make the automatics or the playoffs, and they're looking to get that final piece to the puzzle, or teams coming down, or teams in the lower part of the Premier League. Next up, Stoke City, mate, and not a good week for them.
No, not a good week. They were awful against Middlesbrough. They were all over the place, 2-0 down at half time.
Very surprised by their performance.
Yeah, very just lackadaisical. Listen, I've never seen a team keep the ball like they did. They had something like 73% possession against Middlesbrough, but possession doesn't win you a football match. You know what I mean? Getting in people's faces, set pieces, shots, crosses, the main things in football, the attributes win you games. I thought against Cardiff that set out differently. Yes, they kept the ball still, but they defended better. And I thought they were probably the better side. I think they were unlucky not to win it right at the end with Joe Allen hitting the crossbar, but I think overall they'll be absolutely gutted with only getting 1 point from 3 and from 6, sorry, and just shows how disastrous their season's been.
Yes. So next up is Millwall. Just before you tell me a bit about that, I wanted to ask the people in the chat. We're on to Cardiff after Millwall, and I would like you guys to tell me about Will Volks, and do you think it was harsh for him to not be in the Welsh squad, because he said he feels hurt by it, and I want to get everyone's opinion in the live chat before I put it to Mr. Campbell. But yeah, mate, Millwall, a very mixed week. 3 points from the 2 games.
Yeah, mixed week. I think they'll be more disappointed with the QPR game that they were 2-0 ahead, and they didn't see it out. You know what I mean? That you've got to see games out. Jed Wallace, for me, back to his best. Set goals up, scoring goals. So he's had a really good week. But yeah, being 2 up at half time against a local rival and losing the game, will really upset the supporters and Gary Rowett, and it'll be really disappointed, because if they've got a point there or a couple more points, it keeps them in touch with Cardiff and Middlesbrough. So, you know what I mean? I think now it's going to be a big ask. But listen, 10th in the league. If you'd have offered them 10th at this time of the season, they'd have snapped your hands off. So I think they've had a really good season, I think.
Yes, absolutely, they would. They are far too reliant on Wallace, really reliant on him, which is unfortunate. But they have got a couple of younger players, which I quite like the look of. So you know, there is stuff there to be positive about. Like,
Yeah.
there's been points this year where they've been pretty good, but they have gone off the boil a little bit. So it'll be interesting. Next up is Cardiff City, mate. Not the best of weeks by any stretch.
No, obviously the Watford game at the weekend. The longer this game was going, I could see them losing the game. You know what I mean? They're trying to win it, which is obviously a trait of Mick McCarthy's. They needed to win it because they need the points on the board. But sometimes a point's better than nothing. And then obviously the Stoke game, I think they learnt from that and they sat back a little bit more. Whereas they probably needed to win the Stoke game more than they needed to win the Watford game. You know, the Watford game for me was a draw all day long. I think the goalkeeper's been excellent, but he was at fault for the free kick. He can't let something go through him. You know what I mean? That's one thing he can't do. Was he unsighted a little bit? Possibly, but the ball's still gone through him. He's moved and the ball's gone through him. You know what I mean? Everyone makes a mistake, but it was the timing of it. If that happens in the first minute, he's got a chance to get himself out of it. But when it happens in the last minute, the last kick of the game, there's no hiding place really, and it was a nightmare. You know what I mean? It couldn't have been worse timing for a goalkeeper to make a mistake. But listen, I thought the Stoke City performance was better, but still didn't do enough to win the game. I thought Kiefer Moore looked really tired. I thought some of his chances which he had, his touch was off, his shooting was off. He does so much running sight off the ball that when he gets the ball, he just looks like he's gonna keel over and pass out. And you know what I mean? For me, he needs people next to him to take the pressure off him, or we need someone to maybe give him a rest to do the work what he does, because he's going to burn out, and you can't afford him to burn out this time of the season. What
they needed was either to have Glatzel, who could come on for a couple of games and give him a rest, or they've got to play someone like Mark Harris, who can just run and tell him to stay as a kind of central man to play off and maybe ease off the running a little bit. But they got rid of Glatzel, and I don't see Cardiff telling him to do that. So it's a problem, mate, because they're coming into part of the season where they need his goals more than ever.
Yeah, it's not Kiefer's fault as well, Si, because
of course not.
Listen, the amount of work that man does on a football pitch is extraordinary. I've never seen a centre forward work as hard as he does. You know what I mean? His willingness to run, his enthusiasm, his closing down. But you know what I mean? That's very disrespectful, by the way. You know what I mean? If that has been said.
I would imagine it was on the Soccer Saturday.
If that has been said, that's extremely disrespectful, because you're on about you know what I mean? You telling me, whoever said it, I don't know who was doing the game, but if you telling me that Paul Merson, Michael Dawson, whoever does the games at the minute is not had a bad touch in their career, had a bad game. We've all been there.
Yeah, it's true, mate. On the Volks thing, being left out of the Cardiff squad, the Wales squad, he hasn't been in the squad for the last couple because for some reason Page doesn't seem to fancy him. I would love to know who's picking the squad at the moment, if it's Giggs, who's on a break, or is it Page? Because Volks, as Craig has said there, Volks should be in the Wales squad, but he was part of the new midfield, was one of the very big pluses. He's been very good for Wales. I don't really understand it. Page doesn't seem to fancy him. What do you feel like I feel like he's been good enough for Cardiff that he should be ahead of the likes of Norrington Davis and Morel, like James Costy has said there.
First and foremost, I'd still believe that Ryan Giggs is picking the team and the squad. I think Page is just a front man to do the interviews whilst somebody else is doing everything from behind the scenes. Ryan's not obviously allowed to front things because of what's going on, but he's definitely picking that squad. He's definitely picking the team. I think it's wrong that he's not in the team. I think he gives Wales, or he would give Wales, that little bit of bite, little bit of extra that Cardiff City get. You know what I mean? With his long throw, with his set pieces, with the quality and the difference that he can. Listen, Wales have had it over the years. You know what I mean? They had it when Leggy played. They had it when Gareth Bale in the Euros. You know what I mean? With Ashley Williams, that they notoriously went long in certain times of the game with set pieces, with other things. And I just think they need somebody like him to change the game. He gives you something different. And I'm not saying that just because he's a Cardiff City player. If he was playing for Rotherham, I'd still be saying the same thing, because he's effective He's good at what he does. He's playing week in, week out. You can't use it as an excuse now that he's not playing. He's not playing enough minutes. He's not match fit. Well, he is. He's played more than anybody. So he deserves his opportunity. But at the other side, I don't think he's done himself any favours by coming out and saying he's disappointed, because you know what I mean.
It's not going to help. But I can understand it as well. So there's a few questions I'm going to come back to, just once we've got through the games and stuff. But yeah, there's an interesting decisions. Cardiff have stuttered a little bit. I think it's fair to say over the last 3 games.
Yeah, but you're going into a game tomorrow, Si. Form goes out the window. Recent performances go out the window. It's about one game and one game only. Go and win that game and kickstart your season.
Yeah, Cardiff haven't got the best. What's the word? Not reputation, but like for some reason the Swansea games, particularly in the recent times, just
track record.
They just don't seem to be able to get themselves mentally
motivated,
right for it. Yeah, motivated or just right for it. It's just seeing Leslie, if he'd put who said it about. It was the guy at the ground for Sky. He said. So yeah, it's not a very good comment. I got to be honest. Odds on a Swansea penalty. Well, I think it's
nailed on. Nailed on, isn't it?
Nailed on, isn't it?
Nailed on.
Okay, we'll come back to the Cardiff Swansea stuff and some of the Welsh stuff at the end of the show. But plenty to talk about. Next up was the mighty Boro, mate, and quite the week for them.
Yeah, good week. Amazing week, really. 2 wins, 5 goals, 0 goals against. Blue Stoke away. I think they got a little bit fortunate against Preston with the way that the first goal went in and the red card. But listen, you can only beat what's in front of you, and that's what happened against Preston, and that's the job that you can do. They play Millwall tomorrow. It'll be a different game. You don't know which Millwall is going to turn up. Jed Wallace, you've got to keep people like him quiet. The Den's not an easy place to go to. Middlesbrough got a decent record there, to be fair. So fingers crossed they can carry it on. But listen, I've said all season, Middlesbrough Football Club have had an absolutely phenomenal season. Do I want them to go up? Of course I do, as a football fan, as an ex-player. Do I think they're ready to go up? No. I think it could be more harmful than good if they do go up and get in the playoffs. You know what I mean? I think it'll take a massive blow from Reading for them not to go up. Because I can't see them catching Barnsley, for example. And then you've got Bournemouth as well, who are ahead of them anyway, and you've still got Bournemouth to play in a couple of weeks. So it's going to be interesting. It's still alive. They've still got an opportunity, but I'm delighted with the season. If the season finished today and Middlesbrough finished 8th, I'd be so proud as a Middlesbrough fan. It'd be scary. I think they've had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, it's been impressive, mate. I still fancy them to pinch at least some sort of maybe a playoff place, finish 6th, not necessarily to win the playoffs, but
it's Middlesbrough all over. So if they get the playoffs and finish 6th on the last day, they'll go up. It's them all over.
Next up, Bournemouth, mate.
Very mixed bag. Listen,
yeah,
they played against Barnsley. I fully expected them to win. First half was an interesting one. 1-0 down after 16 minutes, and then 2-1 up by half time. And then I fully expected them just to roll them over and finish off. And Barnsley were absolutely fantastic, going forward, creating chances second half. The blew Bournemouth out the water. You know what I mean? With shots on goal, with everything, and Barnsley fully deserved the victory. And then you go into a tougher game against a better side, better footballing team, and Swansea City, and give them a bit of their own medicine, really. And Jonathan Woodgate got the best out of his team, and is giving them that opportunity now to carry on and kickstart the season, because they've got to be a little bit more consistent as well, because they're not playing this weekend. Well, they are, but they're in the FA Cup, so teams can catch up on them, but they can't catch up on other teams. So they've got games in hand. The next time they play is at home to Middlesbrough, obviously next month. So it's I think they can enjoy the game tomorrow against a local derby in the FA Cup, but their most important games is the Championship and getting in the playoffs, because Bournemouth have got to go up this year with the squad they've got.
They cannot afford to miss out on the.
No.
playoffs, it would be.
If they miss out on the playoffs, then
disastrous.
the manager's got to go, and the players will all leave as well. Because where do they go from there?
Indeed, mate. Indeed. Next up, Reading. Mixed bag, only the 1 point.
Yeah, poor week from Reading's point of view. Obviously, they won the 3 previous games. Drew in Nottingham Forest, which is not a bad result away from home against a rejuvenated side. But then obviously Birmingham City away, you probably expect, even new manager or no new manager, you still expect to go and win that game. You go 1-0 down early. Obviously, new manager comes in, changes things a little bit, but then they get level through meter just before half time and then lose the game later on. Towards the end, and they'll be disappointed, but they've got to get back on. They can't afford to blow this side. You know, I mean, they've been in the playoffs or in the top 6 all season. The only side who's been in there all season. So I'd be gutted for Reading, for Michael Morrison, obviously one of our guests. It was amazing when he came on the show. If they didn't get in the playoffs, but they've got QPR this weekend, and then they play Barnsley, and then they play Derby. So they've got 3 games, which I think they'll probably look to get at least 6 points, if not 7 from.
Yes, indeed, mate. Oh, sorry. Who we got next?
Barnsley.
Barnsley on fire, mate.
Wow,
Jeez.
can't believe it. I'll be honest. If there's one team who I would not want to play against at the minute, it's Barnsley. You know what I mean? They go to 2 away games, 2 tough away games for 2 various reasons. They go to Bournemouth, which on paper is probably the hardest game of the season, apart from Norwich. Beat them 3-2, 3 great goals. And then they got a Wickham side full of confidence, going and just blow them out the water as well. So absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? 6 points, 6 goals in a week. They've moved ahead into 5th position. You know what I mean? Is it a little bit too late to look at automatic? You know what I mean? They're 8 points behind. I wouldn't like to write them off the way they're playing, I'll be honest. But can they keep?
Yeah, so that was the question I was going to ask you later. Was, do you think Barnsley could make the automatic and finish second? Is it possible?
Is it possible? Right. Let me tell you why I think it's possible. I think it's possible because of the fixtures they've got left. They play Sheffield Wednesday at home, Reading at home, Luton away, Middlesbrough at home, Coventry away, Huddersfield away, Rotherham at home, Preston away, and they finish off with Norwich at home. That's why I think it's possible. Because most of those games are against teams in the bottom half with nothing to play for. That's why I think Barnsley could be a team who could go up automatically if they can pick the points up, which they should do from this position and the way they're playing. Yes, football's not that easy, but
I might have a little tinkle on that.
They've given themselves an opportunity, Si. But then, if they get in the playoffs, would you want to play them in the playoffs? The way they attack, the way they score goals, the way they create chances. So either way,
so many chances.
Either way, I think it's an amazing time being a Barnsley fan right now.
Yeah, mate. If I was a betting man, I'd have a few quid on Barnsley to go up automatic, 100%. Because I think you could probably still get quite good odds on that now. At the moment, if they win again tomorrow, it'll go down again. So
yeah, it just gets churned away.
It'd be interesting. Someone find out the odds on that.
This is where the pressure on Bournemouth comes as well, because obviously they're not playing. If Barnsley win again, there's another 3 points. Yes, you've got a game in hand, but games in hand mean nothing at the minute.
Yeah, it's a weird one, mate. It really is. I got a feeling they're going to do something. Lorna, we'll come back to your question about Neil Warnock's fine just after we finish these last couple of clubs. I've made a note of some of the questions which have been coming in. So keep sending them and we'll get to them in just a second. Next up, Brentford, mate.
Ivan Toney back on form. 4 points out of 6. I think at this stage of the season, so it's about getting results. They'll be disappointed they didn't get the 3 against Derby, but Derby need the points as well.
Steady
Ivan
ship
Toney's
a
got
little bit,
a little bit. Yeah, they'd had a bit of a bad time, like all clubs do. Some time of the season, it was always going to happen, but they're still still with a chance of getting top 2. You know, they've got a game in hand over Watford. They're 5 points behind. If they win that game in hand, it goes to 2. Obviously, they will be ahead of Swansea come tomorrow if they win, because Swansea will lose. So it's still an interesting end to the season.
Indeed, mate. Next up is Swansea. You mentioned. How's their week been?
I Average, I'd say. I think they beat Luton Town away. I think we were expecting to win. I thought they started off well. Obviously, Conor Houlihan got the goal, and then they sat back a little bit, and Luton were unlucky not to get something at stages of the game. But against Bournemouth, they didn't play great, and I hope that they turn up tomorrow with a similar mindset and a similar performance level, because if they do, they'll be in for a very tough afternoon or evening if it's 5:30. But yeah, they'll be bang up for it tomorrow. They need the points. You know what I mean? Yes, Cardiff need the points, but both teams need the points. That's why it's going to be an exciting game, and I know we're going to talk about it soon. But Swansea need the points. It's not enough time at the minute to have bad performances and bad results at this stage of the season, especially with Watford and Norwich winning games as well. You can't afford to fall too far behind them.
Yes. So Leslie and Gavin said Barnsley are 9-2 to be promoted, but Craig says they're 66-1 on Sky Bet. Is that to get promoted?
Probably
to win the league.
Probably to go in the top two, I'd say. Probably to go in the top two.
I'd take 66-1 to get in the top two, mate. 100%.
Because 92 is playoffs as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd take 66-1 to finish in the top two. I think that would chuck a few quid on that. It's worth it. For a bit of fun. Next up, Watford, mate. Quite the week for them again.
Yeah, fabulous. Listen, I think it all started against Cardiff City with that last-minute winner. I think they probably did edge the game against Cardiff, but they played Rotherham in midweek. Absolutely frightening attacking display. Blew them away. They won the last 4 games. They play Birmingham City tomorrow, then Sheffield Wednesday at home. So for me, another 6 points should come. Keep the pressure on Norwich City, but for me, just cementing that second place is more important to Watford. They want to get promoted. I don't think they'll care if they finish second or first. They want to get back to the Premier League, and the way they're playing, yes, they've played one more game than Swansea and Brentford, but Swansea have got a tough game tomorrow at the minute. So Watford could be in a good place come 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, indeed, they could, mate. I've been impressed with them last probably 6 to 8 weeks. They've been very, very impressive, and they'll be tough to beat now because they're experienced, aren't they, at this level and going into these big games. So you'd expect them to be bang right up there.
Yeah, totally.
And then lastly, we've got Norwich. You were 10 points clear, starting to run away with it, my friend.
Yeah, listen, 9 wins on the bounce. You know what I mean? And they haven't really battered any teams, you know what I mean? They just do enough to win games. Sheffield Wednesday 1-0 behind, they beat them 2-1. Nottingham Forest away, they win 2-0. They just do enough, you know what I mean? Listen, they've got the best centre forward in the Championship. Pukki's just a man possessed. He scores every game. He misses chances every game. But you know, when you've got somebody of that calibre, of that experience, with the knowledge of how to hit the net on a regular basis, and you've got defence of Ben Gibson. And I think is it Hanley as well, ex Blackburn Rovers. You know what I mean? And Tim Krul in goal. You've got a chance to get promoted. Listen, you've got the best. You've got the best spine in the Championship. So for me, league tables certainly don't lie. And what do they probably need? Another 5 wins maybe to get automatic promotion.
Yeah. What they've got is a striker who just is prolific and hasn't really had like a spell all season where he's struggled to score. He's just been scoring and scoring and scoring. So yeah, I'd certainly take Norwich to win the league soon. I just think that they just look too good. Okay, so let's go to 2 up, 2 down, and then we'll go to those questions that we've got. Let's go with the downs first, mate. Who you got?
I've gone for Stoke City's defence. Stoke City's all-round performance against Middlesbrough I thought was absolutely diabolical. I just can't understand how inconsistent they are, and it must be really worrying for supporters, for manager, because I thought they were turning things around under Michael O'Neill. I thought they would have gone on to another level. I thought they would be kicking around the playoffs and pushing towards automatic promotion. It just hasn't materialised, and they couldn't be any further away. 41 goals for, 42 goals against. It just shows that's why they're mid-table, because it evens it out, and it shouldn't with the squad that they've got on paper.
Yes, I've gone for my first down. I went for Millwall. 2 up, half time, losing 3-2 to QPR. Self-explanatory, innit?
Yep.
They should be doing better.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, it's one of them. Got to take it on
Shouldn't
the chin.
happen. Yeah, it shouldn't happen.
But
yeah.
Who's your second down? And let us know in the chat also, guys, who your ups and downs are for the week.
I've gone for Jordan Story's own goal for Preston. I thought it was a bit calamity. Something what shouldn't really happen. You know what I mean? Go and slice a ball as a defender and just wrong foot the goalkeeper and it goes in. It didn't give him an opportunity to progress on. So yeah, he gets my second down.
Yeah, I've gone for Cardiff. Just overall, I felt they looked. Last 3 games, I felt they've looked a little bit disjointed and a little bit tired, and it's difficult. And the downs are always more difficult, and I don't think they've necessarily been bad. I think it's more they've been so good, and then all of a sudden they've just looked a little bit disjointed and tired. Maybe they need to rotate it in a bit, get some youth in there, or they've also got a few injuries, which I think is difficult. But yeah, and I think that says more about the high standards that McCarthy set.
I totally agree.
I'm so
totally
disappointed with the last few games.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were mine. Who's your first up?
I've got 3, so I've got a bonus one. So I'm going to start with my bonus one. So I'm going to start with Bradley Dack. So obviously the love for Bradley and wanting him to get a bit of positivity from the show to get better and hopefully read an invitation to come on the show and we will give him all the love he needs. But no, my first up is Jed Wallace. I think Jed was back to his best. He glides past players. I said last season I'm surprised they kept him in the summer. Still there. I don't know his contract situation, but I'd be surprised if he stays there at the end of the season because he's consistent. Yes, he might not be ready for the Premier League, but for me, he's ready to step up to a side who's kicking on towards the top end of the playoffs, if not promotion.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I've gone for Corley Woodrow of Barnsley. Been a trooper for them for the last couple of years, but just scoring goals for fun. Very much the linchpin and the leader of that team. Yeah, he closes down up from the top, and everything about him is everything they try to do and trying to do. Big fan, and he's exceptional again. Grabbed another goal or 2.
Great shout.
Superb.
Yeah,
who's your
great shout.
second up?
My final up is Lee Bowyer. I think he's got to give credit for going and putting himself in a job, which is obviously high pressure. They were a sinking ship. He won his first game, so you can only give him credit for that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things progress for Lee. But yeah, great first game against a tough side of Reading, 2-1 victory. So yeah, Lee Bowyer.
Yeah, I was caught between Bowyer and I actually went for his skipper, Harley Dean. He scored a phenomenal header from about 12 yards out to win the game on Wednesday or Tuesday, and just had a very good week for Birmingham. Just very, very good. So I went for him. Change it up a little bit. We haven't given one to him, I don't think, in the past. So we've gone with him.
Great show.
Right. So let's have a look at some of the ups and downs from the chat quickly. So we got Geraint Cole says Phillips flapping at that free kick. Yeah, look, it was a mistake, but he's done enough recently to allow him a mistake, and also the power on the free kick meant that even if he didn't flap, it might have still gone through him. So I'm willing to overlook it, forgive him, but yeah, I can understand.
As long as he keeps a clean sheet tomorrow, I'll forgive him. That's my deal.
Donna says her down is the end of Cardiff's winning run. Leslie says his down is the keeper's face in the boot down the keeper's face in the Rangers game. Geraint Cole says his next down is his glass of red wine. Reece says I'm really. Yeah, Reece says he's really interested to see how Mick McCarthy operates in the transfer market come the summer. We know the board like to do their own thing when it comes to signing players. Well, he's on that transfer committee, so technically he should have a say. The curse of the manager of the month every single time, and yeah, it did. He had Mick McCarthy had manager of the month, and Cardiff have stuttered. So it does seem right. Cover some of the questions I saved from earlier. I asked you about Barnsley for the autos. James Costley asked, could Kadeem Harris come back to Cardiff if Sheffield Wednesday go down?
He possibly could, but I think as a player, sometimes making a fresh start instead of going back somewhere where, you know what I mean, will he play? That's the thing. You know what I mean? For me, his next move is an important one. He's playing regular at Sheffield Wednesday side. You know what I mean? Needs to go. His next move is going to be important. That he's going to go somewhere to play. Will he be behind Josh Murphy? You know what I mean? Is he Mick McCarthy's type of player? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's about players' development, and you know what I mean. Sometimes it's not always a good move for the player to go back to a old club.
Yeah. I think Gavin says his up was Pookie. I'm just not sure. I thought he got a raw deal at Cardiff. I thought he's been pretty good for Sheffield Wednesday. I thought he was exceptional last year. Yeah. Like you say, going back doesn't always mean good. No. But we'll see, I guess. It wouldn't be the worst signing in the world, because Cardiff could do with a bit of pace on those wings. Lorna asked, or mentioned, Joe Ledley signing for Newport. What do you think of that?
Fantastic, I messaged Joe and just said congratulations, and really pleased that he's carrying on his football career and playing as long as he can, and for Newport they've got an absolute world-class signing, you know what I mean, because at that level they've especially with the position they're in, you know, I know we spoke about Kev Ellison about experienced players, and you can't beat that experience to filter through the changing room, to pass on to other players, and Joe just to sit in midfield and spray balls around and kill games when he needs to, and you know what I mean. I'll be hopefully celebrating and sending Joe a well done message when he scores a winning goal at Wembley again for this time in the playoff final.
Do you mention anything else to him in this message?
I might have done.
I just wondered. Riverside said earlier, how long does Giggs get before the allegations mean that he loses his job?
If he's
like
found
how
guilty,
long can they just?
If he's found guilty, he's got to lose it. If he's found guilty, he's got to lose his job. If he's under investigation now,
is there a court date set?
I don't know. Besides, but if they've put him on gardening leave or whatever you want to call it now, and there's no outcome, then if he's guilty, then surely he's going to lose his job.
So often in these cases, the allegation is withdrawn, and that I just think leaves a cloud in itself.
It's undisclosed, and nobody ever knows the real outcome, which is disappointing.
Yeah, it'd be a shame for him from a purely football point of view. Now, it would be a shame for him if his Wales managerial career ends through something non-football, because I think he had a difficulty winning the fans round to start with, and I think he's done that. He's qualified in his own right, playing his own style of football, which wasn't, Chris Coleman's way. He's brought in his own players and he's changed the tactics. And funny enough, similar to Coleman, when Coleman took over from Speed, first of all, he tried to carry on playing Gary Speed's way and struggled. Yeah. And it was only when he played his own tactics and brought in his own players that he succeeded. And I think Giggs kind of did that as well. He tried to keep on Chris Coleman's good work. Didn't really work for him, and then when he went to his own thing, it kind of worked better. But yeah, from the other point of view, if he's guilty, then he deserves to be fired, and I got no time for that sort of shit at all. It's a big no-no for me. So I'd have a real problem with it. If they didn't sack him and he was found guilty, I'd have a massive issue with it. So it is what it is at the moment, I guess. But I don't think it can be never-ending. And with COVID and things are getting delayed and delayed and delayed. I believe that there's got to be, from the Welsh FA, not publicly, but privately, they must have a cut-off date in mind. They can't just, what happens if this is not settled by the Euros?
Yeah. Well, they've got to. They must
does he stay away from the Euros?
Yeah, they must know. There's got to be a means to an end. There's got to be an end point.
Yeah, there's a question for you. If this isn't settled by the Euros because it gets delayed because of COVID, can Ryan Giggs be the manager of Wales at the Euros?
No.
They got a problem then, haven't they? So they have to replace him
because
permanently. Then.
Well, do they have to replace him now? You know, they've set the president, and the president is he can't manage whilst this is over his head. So it doesn't matter if it's next month, next year, 2 years down the line. The Welsh FA have decided to do what they've done now. They can't change the goalpost in 6 months' time and say he's all right to manage now. They can't do it.
Yeah.
It would make a mockery of why they've suspended him, put him on garden leave, took him out of there. It makes a mockery of the whole situation.
Yeah, for me, he'd look. I think we would look stupid if we go into the Euros with a caretaker manager or assistant manager.
With a suspended manager, it would be
stupid,
a joke.
Isn't it? Lorna asked, "What do you think of Neil Warnock getting a fine for his comments?" Do you know what the comments were? Because I can go back. It
was a Swansea one. Listen, it's difficult because I know obviously the situation what happened in the game, but when you come on to, you know exactly what you're saying and why you're saying. And when he comes out with his comments, and Neil's quite honest that I know I'm going to get a fine for this, then you're taking on the chin, aren't you? You know what I mean? It is what it is. Neil speaks his truth. His heart on his sleeve, wears his heart on his sleeve. So for me, it is what it is. Just take it on the chin and just move on. It's a fine because he said things about the referee, personally about the referee.
It's a pet peeve of mine, mate. That is like if you're going to fine managers for giving their opinion of the referee or the game or whatever, don't have the managers do the post-match interviews. Just do the press conference afterwards. Give them half hour to calm down, because otherwise, you're set up to fail. Like you're setting these people up just to fine them, because you're asking them in the heat of the moment. So they either are allowed to give an honest opinion, as long as they're not, swearing or being abusive or racist or whatever it may be, as long as they are putting their point across in a rash, a polite way, if you like, without swearing or whatever, then let them do it.
Yeah.
If you're not, then don't bother having those stupid interviews. Okay, let's have a look. Cardiff versus Swansea, mate. We had loads of questions today, so we're running a bit late. Cardiff versus Swansea tomorrow. Leslie, me and Gandhi will give Cardiff and Boro predictions after this, mate, before we finish. Go on then, mate. Talk to me about the Cardiff-Swansea game.
Listen, it's a game which obviously notorious. It's going to be a passionate game. It's about results tomorrow. Don't think about performance. You know what I mean? That you stay in the game as long as you can. If you're ahead, you're hanging in there as long as you can. You put the effort in. You're determined. Tactics go out the window as well. It's about getting a result. Swansea, for me, they got the tactics right against Cardiff. Hopefully, Cardiff have learned from the previous game and let's move on. You know what I mean? Get the results and get out there, because for me, Cardiff won't get promoted if they win tomorrow. They won't not get in the playoffs if they lose tomorrow. But it goes a long way. Cardiff lose tomorrow. I think it'll be doubtful that we'll get in the playoffs. But a positive result just pushes them that little bit further. Remember, Bournemouth aren't playing, so they can claw some points back on and put the pressure back on Bournemouth. And tomorrow's game is vital because they're playing after everybody else. So, for example, Middlesbrough are playing at 3 o'clock. Bournemouth aren't playing. Reading are playing at 3 o'clock. Barnsley are playing at 3 o'clock. So you know exactly what you need to do. So I think that helps. That's going to help Cardiff City. I don't think it'll put more pressure on because they're in a position anyway which they're playing catch up anyway. They'll know exactly. They could give them a boost. A few bad results from teams above them could give them a boost for tomorrow going into the game. But they need to be careful of Lowe, because I thought Lowe was fantastic in the first game. I think he's scoring goals. He's their danger man for me. Yes, Ayew is the biggest name centre forward wise, but for me, Lowe was their best centre forward. He's got good mobility. He's a bit cocky. He's a bit arrogant in the good way, football wise. And Conor Hoolahan can unlock a door a little bit like Lee Tomlin can for Cardiff. Obviously, Lee won't be playing tomorrow. I don't believe. But yeah, keep Hoolahan quiet, keep Lowe quiet, and I think you'll get a positive result.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. Interesting. Swansea signed Kabanga for a new contract. I think that's a great bit of business, by the way.
Yeah.
Look, Cardiff have got to win tomorrow. I don't think a draw is a good enough result. But most of all, if we lose 3-0, but those players look like they care and they try, yes, I'll be upset and I'll be disappointed, but they've got to show that they care, because the last couple of derby games, I've really felt quite insulted by their performance, like collectively, just their attitude and general overall stuff. But Swansea have got a lot of good players, but Cardiff have been in good form bar the last couple of games. Mick McCarthy is solid defensively, tactically he's very good, so I think Cardiff are capable of winning the football match, especially if they need Harry Wilson to turn up to supply Kiefer Moore, because like you mentioned, they not going to have Lee Tomlin on the bench to do something special.
No.
It's difficult. Look, Cardiff have to win, but it is only one game. They could lose and then also go and still make the playoffs. But psychologically, if those players don't turn up for another derby and Swansea walk all over them, well, regardless of the score, like just during the game they walk all over them, then I think that's a big problem for Cardiff psychologically going forward against Swansea, because they have not turned up for the majority of the derbies in recent memory.
Here's a question for you, Si.
Go on.
And for everyone else who's watching the game. So, would you take a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Would you take a 4-0 defeat tomorrow and win the last 8 games of the season?
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah.
All day long. So.
Because, mate, here's the thing for me, for me personally, I don't care about Swansea. I care about Cardiff. They don't matter to me. So that's just my opinion, and I know like there's straight away few people have said no.
Yep.
Like, is or is. Like, I'd rather Cardiff succeed and Swansea not succeed, of course. But
mine's irrelevant. Mine's irrelevant. Swansea doesn't come into it. You know what I mean? For me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what it is for me as well.
It's an important game, but Cardiff against Nottingham Forest is just as important. Yes, there's no rivalry involved, but there's still points at stake. You know what I mean? It's about Cardiff City achieving promotion and getting to the playoffs. That can't happen unless they win. I'd probably say 7 out of the last 9 games.
Well, my maths is shocking. What's 8 times 3?
It's 24.
24. Cardiff get 24 points from the rest of the season. They would have a very good chance of being...
Yeah, that puts them on 79. That puts them on 79.
They wouldn't be far off top 2. Probably would just miss out on top 2. But
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Swansea, of course, I dislike them, and my hatred for them has kind of waned with age. Like, if you'd asked me that question in my 20s, I'd have been like, I would have said no. But as I've got older, they just don't matter to me. So I'm more.
But that's the thing as well. You know, I mean, listen, I would love to win the game tomorrow 4-0.
Yeah, of course.
But then if we don't get in the playoffs, that game it's irrelevant. You know what I mean? We'll be on this show saying again, the Cardiff have underachieved a little bit towards the end of the season. You know what I mean? For me, the holy grail is about.
That's a cracking stat, by the way. That is. In history, no side has done the double in the South Wales derby. I hope we're saying that. I hope we're saying that come tomorrow night then at 7:00, and then happy days. Yeah, it is what it is, mate. I just want those players to turn up, because they haven't against Swansea recently, and the last couple of games, last season and this season, in the first game of the first South Wales derby of the season, I was really upset by the way Cardiff City's players performed. Not from a quality point of view, but from a attitude point of view. Right, guys and girls, I thank you all for joining us. It's been a bit of a longer one. Both me and Andy both need the loo, and we were due to have Super Kevin scripted tonight straight after this. Unfortunately, Kev's not very well, so we're gonna have to put that off. But I have a new show out on Sunday, which is My Story 2, with football agent Jess Bent of Black Diamond Sports, which is a really interesting show. Telling her story, talking about some life experiences. It's really interesting stuff. And if you missed episode 1, was out last week with Forest fan and author Gary Clark, who talked about his issues with football violence when he was younger, which ended with him in prison and then turning his life around to where he is today, a successful author, among other things. Another great interview, very interesting stuff. And we'll be back on Monday. It's a family affair, because we're joined by none other than Neil Campbell, Andy's brother. It's going to be a belter. I am going to put the screws to these two on Monday. I want to hear some dirt. I want to hear some gossip. I want to hear the worst of the worst. It is what it is. But it's going to be a belter. Guys, as ever, it's our pleasure. And we really appreciate all your questions. Loads of questions tonight as well. Comments, everything. Spread the word. Come on, the Bluebirds.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust, and I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Put you down.